is actually a little better than it's been in recent days. Not where we need to be ultimately, but a little bit better. So that's the most important news of the day, that a number certainly says there's some real hope.
Our thing before turning to our daily indicators, because here we are at the end of a 4-year road. I personally have been so moved over these years watching how people of this city and all over the country have responded to an absolutely unprecedented challenge. Look, there have been times in the last 4 years where we've seen our democracy threatened, where we've seen overt injustice, we've seen overt racism, attacks on immigrants, you name it. It's all been very painful. And it could be cause for people to be depressed or overwhelmed. But what I've seen more and more over the years is people fighting back, people resisting, people saying, no, this is not what our city or our country are meant to be. We're going to do something different and better here. And I have to tell you, it has actually renewed my sense of the strength of our democracy, the sense of community that people have. I've seen this all over the 5 boroughs. I've seen this all over the country, that people care. And sometimes when you see the headlines, they can sound dire, but everyday people, it's extraordinary how compassionate the people of this city, the people of this country are, how engaged they are. You saw it these last days, 100 million people voting, and that's just unbelievable, and that gives me hope. So whatever's about to happen in the days ahead, I keep my faith in the people, and the people have really shown us something in recent days. The people are not giving up, and we should never, ever give up. Let's go to our indicators. And obviously, the indicators are all about a challenge that we are facing together. And here's a good example. New Yorkers having banded together to fight the coronavirus with extraordinary success. And now we face a challenge, and we're not going to back down in the face of that challenge. We're going to push these numbers back down again. So let's go over them today. Number one, daily number of people admitted to New York City hospitals for suspected COVID-19. That threshold is 200 patients. Today's report, 83 patients with a confirmed positivity level of 31%. So the number of patients, again, staying in a range that we've generally been in recent weeks. That positivity level, a little higher than I'd like to see, obviously. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Number two, new reported cases on a 7-day average. The threshold is 550 cases. Now we're over that today, and again, cause for concern, 605 cases. We are watching that very carefully. Some of that, again, is because of a lot more testing, but is still cause for concern. Number three, most important, percentage of people testing citywide positive for COVID-19, threshold 5%. Okay, today's daily report is clearly aberrant. It's 0.38%. We've seen that from time to time when a surprisingly low number of test results have come in for the day. That can vary by day. That number will change and go upwards as more test results come in. But the truest number is always the 7-day rolling average number. This number, 1.59%, is actually a little better than it's been in recent days. Not need to be ultimately, but a little bit better. So that's the most important news of the day, that a number that certainly says that there's some real hope that we can continue our progress. All right, let me finish on the topic of the elections in Spanish. Todos hemos esperado mucho elecciones. Nuestro voto es la mejor forma para construir una nación más y con igual oportunidades para todos. Hoy es el último día que tenemos para hacer que nuestra voz se escuche en esta elección. Vamos a votar. Everyone, get out and vote. If you have not voted yet, say it in every language. If you have not voted yet, get out and vote. You have until 9 p.m. tonight. With that, we will turn to our colleagues in the media. And please let me know the name and outlet of each journalist.
Good morning, all. We'll now begin our Q&A. As a reminder, we're joined today by Deputy Mayor Phil Thompson, by Dr. Chokshi, by Laura Wood, the Senior Advisor and Senior Counsel for Democracy NYC, and by Senior Advisor Dr. Jay Varma. First question today goes to Matt Chase from Newsday.
Hey, good morning, all. How are you?
Yeah, how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right. My first question is for Dr. Varma or Dr. Chokshi or both. Gentlemen, to what extent are you seeing fatigue with the pandemic restrictions, and how are you combating that if you are seeing it?
Go ahead, doctors.
This is Jack, and I can go ahead and start. I mean, I think that probably the easiest place to start is with our own personal lives. You know, myself, my wife, my 3 kids. I mean, this is a very challenging experience for everybody. And so I think, you know, we personally, you know, are focused on what are the things that we can do day to day to make ourselves, you know, happy and comfortable. What are the things that give us pleasure that may not be the things that we would normally do, but they're the things that we can do in our regular life. And I do think that throughout the city, you do see, you know, both the combination of people experiencing fatigue. You know, you see parties that people are having that need to be broken up. And we obviously want to crack down on those and minimize those as much as possible. But we also have empathy. We know that people are experiencing these challenges. So what we've been really working on is trying to increase the amount of awareness and campaigns that we can do, particularly about the importance of wearing a mask indoors, particularly during this time right now, when we know people are likely to gather indoors. We want to advise against large groups, but we know that they might happen. And so really the most important thing is to wear that mask and maintain your distance.
Dr. Choksi, you want to add?
Yes, and thank you for the thoughtful question. I think Dr. Varma said it well, you know, particularly our focus on empathy. Pandemic fatigue is very real, and it's something that we have to both keep in mind with respect to what New Yorkers are going through every day, but also understand it as a threat to our progress with respect to how we need to continue to combat the coronavirus. One of the concrete ways that we're really thinking about this as part of our own response is to make sure that we make the small accommodations so that we don't find ourselves in situations where we have to make larger accommodations or restrictions. So one of the ways that we did this, for example, over Halloween was to make sure that you know, kids could still have fun. They could do things outdoors. You know, make sure that people were gathering safely in smaller groups. So not restricting everything, but allowing people some outlets, but doing it in a way that prevents further spread of the virus, because we all want to avoid those more draconian measures.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, thank you very much. And for you, Mr. Mayor, with a new round of protests possible in the aftermath of the election, can you tell us to what extent cops have been disciplined already with specific numbers, exonerations, sanctions, and when exactly is your promised report from the Corp Council on police behavior from the last round of protests to be released?
That report, Corp Council and Department of Investigation is, from the best I've heard, days away. We're looking forward to that report and understanding what that investigation has found and what it tells us for what we need to do going forward. We'll get you the exact facts. Obviously, there were some very notable cases where officers were suspended or modified, and there's going to be disciplinary trials in some of those cases. And look, going forward, it's quite clear. We have to do more to show that in the rare instances, and they are rare, where an officer does something wrong, that there's going to be very fast, clear discipline. That's something I expect from the NYPD. Go ahead.
The next is Michael Gartland from the Daily News.
Morning, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Michael, how you doing?
I'm all right. So the first question I had has to do with the preparations for protests and the unrest, or what, you know, whatever we're going to see into the evening. So the city is telling businesses bring in items that are unsecured or not tied down on the street, but not to put up plywood to cover the windows. I mean, it seems like both of those responses would be for the same sort of thing. Why the difference there? Why tell business owners you got to take your stuff in, but don't tell them you got to put up plywood?
This is based on the judgment of public safety professionals And they've obviously had an ongoing dialogue with the business improvement districts and the business community. I think they are different things, obviously used in different ways. But look, each store owner has to make their own choice. Some have decided they want to put something up. I think it's fair to say the vast majority have not. But it's public safety professionals just using their best judgment as to what matters most. Go ahead.
Next question is on the election and elections in general. Do you think it would be a good idea to, and I'm not sure exactly how this would be done, but to move the mayoral race to years where you have a presidential election to encourage more turnout? I'm sure there are all kinds of considerations that go along with that, but I was curious on election day what your thoughts were on that, Mr. Mayor.
It's a really interesting and fair question, Michael. I'm not sure I would agree with that assumption. I think we have got to continue the work of democracy, and I'll offer my thoughts and see the deputy mayor has some as well. I think it's not so much about saying, hey, we can only have 1 day or 1 week every 4 years where we all get interested. I think it's something much deeper than that. We have got to deepen the efforts to engage people in voting and in all sorts of other civic participation. That's why we have a civic engagement commission, something that was decided by the people. That's why we put forward a reform of our campaign finance laws to get big money out of elections in the city, make it easier for grassroots candidates, so there'd be more engagement, more candidates who represent a broader range of communities. That's why we fought for early voting, and early voting is making a big difference in terms of people being able to participate. So no, I think it's fine if it continues on the same cycle, but I think we've got a lot more work to do to show people why voting matters. Go ahead, Phil, you want to?
With the mayor, and there are many things that we could do that other states already do to make voting easier. So same-day voter registration. Some states allow voters to vote at any polling site, not just a specific one in their neighborhood. And there are many other reforms that need to happen in order to make it easier for people to vote. So that's part of the agenda we'll be pursuing after this election.
Yeah, and Michael, absolutely everything that Deputy Mayor Thompson raised, obviously the profound changes we need at the Board of Elections, which is crucial because we want early voting to be appealing. It was difficult this time because of the lines. We want to fix that. We need a different Board of Elections to do it. And also, I mentioned it yesterday. Look, we're the greatest city in the world. We're the place that's supposed to be the most innovative and creative. When it comes to voting, the city, the state have been way behind the nation in so many cases. And we just got our Democratic clock cleaned by Harris County, Texas, that came out with a great innovation, 24-hour voting. We didn't do that. They did that. And I give them a lot of credit in Harris County, Texas. 24-hour voting allows so many people who work overnight shifts or have long days that they have to deal with, gives them options. You'd think that the place that would have happened first is in the greatest city in the world and the place that's known for being a 24-hour city. That's an amazing innovation. That's something we should think about for the future as well. Go ahead.
The next is Emma Fitzsimmons from the New York Times.
Hi, good morning, Mayor. I have a question for you about the stimulus. You've been talking a lot about what a Biden presidency would mean for New York City. Have you had any talks with Biden and his campaign? Do you have any guarantee that New York would benefit from the second stimulus?
I spoke with the vice president on the day, obviously,